Hey there. Today, hey there. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite animes that have come out in the last few years. I don't like it because of it being like a good anime. I like it because it's a good manga and I like the story that this anime tells. If you couldn't figure it out through the thumbnail, it's called Blue Lock. It is one of my favorite sports animes ever made, and the reason being of how cohesive and well told the stories are, and how excited I was for every new episode to drop, at least for season 1. The anime quality in season 2 sucked butt cheeks, but I'm not gonna go completely into the anime. I'm just gonna give you like the overall oversight as to what the anime entails, and like if you guys like it, you can check it out. But I want to talk about how this anime sort of inculcates this ideology of ego over everything. It's one of those things that gets looked over so often, so easily. So the whole idea of Blue Lock is basically it's like a facility where Japan wants to create the world's best striker, and the way they go about doing this is by basically taking all the high school strikers and pitting them against each other. And basically they have like different levels to the game, and once you get eliminated in one level, you basically cannot play soccer for the national Japanese team like ever. Like, you're done. Your soccer career is done. So every episode and every task that your main characters go through sort of feels like life and death to them, because it's literally their dream to like represent their country in the sport that is so beloved to them. And you get to meet a lot of characters on the way. Main character in the show, his name is Isagi, and he is basically just another high school soccer player playing with his high school football team, and they unfortunately lose a match which would have enabled them to qualify to the finals. This sort of like breaks your main character, seeing that his dream of becoming like this grandiose football player or representing his country in football was like shattered at that moment. So Isagi gets a call from the Blue Lock Association, which is led by this weird stick figure looking guy called Ego, which is pretty ironic considering the show completely entails and talks about ego. And the first stage of Blue Lock is basically him being paired with a bunch of few other people who are at the same skill level and power level as he is, and he is probably one of the lowest ranked people even amongst the lowest ranked people. So with like each level that Isagi passes, there are some people who get eliminated, so they're permanently terminated from playing football, and some people like pass along with him. And on his way, Isagi meets like a lot of really strong players, and he gets to learn a lot from them. That is basically like the crux of what the show entails, and that is basically like how the show proceeds. Throughout the story, Isagi goes from like the underdog to becoming like one of the best players in the arc and in the anime. And the way he does that is pretty interesting. There is so much talks about like ego and what it means to have an ego, and it's okay if I score 3 matches and lose the game over not scoring at all and winning the game. Like, you have these huge ideas about ego, yet the main character, who is Isagi, doesn't have an internal ego of like, this person is beneath me and I have nothing to learn from them. Like, Isagi basically embodies this idea of like, you can learn from anyone as long as you're willing to. Something which Kobe Bryant once told in an interview sort of stuck with me. He was talking about how everything that he does is about basketball. Like, there is nothing he wants to talk about, consume, or even interact with which doesn't have to remotely do with basketball. So in a way, it's like the world becomes your teacher and your environment becomes your library, and the environment is like a very important element in the anime as a whole. So Ego, who is like the main driver of the Blue Lock project, tells us how important the environment in which you develop in, or the environment in which you compete in, is. So like I said, Isagi, when he just starts out, is one of the weaker players in the whole org. In the first stage, VWXYZ, 5 teams. So you have these 5 teams, and Isagi is in Team Z, which is like the lowest ranked team. You have V, W, X, Y, Z. and V is the strongest team, and Z is the weakest team. Ego literally puts them in a place with like really bad living conditions, with like really bad food, and having like scant advantages when it comes to the environment. And his reasoning for that is the people that you see around you are of the same caliber, and because you are inherently a weaker group of people, like there are teams above you who are enjoying better food, enjoying better facilities, and overall in having a better time. But the reason why you weren't awarded those luxuries is because you aren't like a really strong player as compared to as compared to the rest of the others. So this sort of creates an environment of like inadequacy. It aids into the ideology of insufficiency, and every chance that they get, people just want to prove themselves in Blue Lock. And every time they do prove themselves, they get like a small treat, as like, like a piece of steak or some little prize to keep them motivated. And it kind of works. Like, your environment dictates so much around you, it dictates the person that you become. Obviously, there is the saying that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. There are so many instances where the environment has motivated me personally to like rise up to the task and like become a better person. The second most important lesson that Blue Lock sort of entails in you is the ego lesson. Your ego towards the goals that you have to achieve or you want to achieve personally should be through the freaking roof, and you have to be uncompromised when it comes to like the things that you want. And you also, yeah, it is realistic to like keep in mind the skill set and the skill level that you are at. But if you think that you have a certain goal which you can grasp, I feel like you have to go all in. And I feel like that ego that you have in your, and I feel like you have to conserve the fuel of that ego that tells you to go 100%. So those are the two really important stories. Those are the two really important lessons that I got from Blue Lock. It's obviously one of my favorite animes because it's taught me so much about pursuing certain goals and pursuing certain things which I initially had deemed unachievable or unattainable. But it's just those small steps that you take initially, and yeah, hopefully you get there one day. Well, that's been about it from my side. Bye bye.